Hi, and welcome back to the Management and Leadership Channel. I'm your host, Kevin Booker, and today we're going to be talking about managing group dynamics. Now, in the past, we've done a deep dive into managing team dynamics. This is different. There is a difference between teams and groups, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. Then we'll get into the overall group characteristics, the dynamics of managing a group, and then we'll offer some recommendations at the very end. So let's get started. So looking at the definition of a team, they rely heavily on collaboration and interdependency of individual tasks. They have a clear mission, shared goals and accountability, and they have a shared purpose. Now, from a group standpoint, it's much different. Groups, they lack the same interdependency as teams. The individuals typically work independently toward their own individual or departmental goals. And there is some shared purpose, but ultimately most group members have their own departmental or individual goals and objectives that they're working towards. So that's the main difference between a team and a group. And you can see in the two pictures that I've got reflected here, the picture on top that's reflecting a team, you can see the hands are joined, they're heavily interdependent on each other, and they're going to be working closely. And then at the bottom picture, you can see it's a group of people, like a product business group at work. In that group or in this picture, you might have engineers from the engineering department, you might have quality from quality department, operations, purchasing, manufacturing, you get the point. But in a group, you're going to have different departments, not necessarily marching toward the same day-to-day operational goals. However, they share the same mission in terms of wanting the company to be successful. So let's take a look at group characteristics. Now, there's 6 group characteristics that can affect how managers and leaders approach the group. Now, the first one is group size. The second is the stages of group development. The third is the roles and responsibilities and how those are rolled out to the individual group members. Fourth is the group norms, how those are established and are they working effectively. The fifth is group cohesion. And the last is group communication and the mode of communication. So let's talk about each one of these in a little bit more detail. So looking at the group dynamics, let's take a look at the group size. How does this impact a manager's ability or a leader's ability to manage the group effectively? Well, the first is, depending on the size, that's going to dictate the number of leaders that are required to lead within that particular product business group. If it's a smaller group, maybe you only need 2 or 3 leads, 1 supervisor and a manager. Large product business groups, you're going to need multiple leaders, multiple levels of managers as well. Now, if we look at a large size, in terms of your management style, you're going to want to use a more directive approach. You cannot get into the day-to-day tactical in a large group. Smaller groups, you can spend a little bit more time on interpersonal relationships. And so you're going to want to choose that style if you're managing small groups. The second is the stages of group development. So as the group develops, that determines how the manager is going to manage that particular group. The stages of development of a group are forming, storming, norming, and performing. Now, norming is the most critical stage. So I just want to highlight this. This is the point when the group is developing and the clear leaders are starting to emerge, and they're going to set the tone for group performance. Everyone else is going to be a follower. They're going to follow in line. So these organically emerging leaders within your product business groups, those are the individuals that are going to set the tone for performance, and they're also going to develop the group cohesiveness. So it is very important when you start to see these leaders emerge, pull up alongside of them and start to mentor them and give them good management and leadership tips, because they are emerging as the leaders for the followers in the group. The third thing is roles and responsibilities. Now, this is important from a management standpoint because it's our responsibility to make sure that we're assigning the tasks and the roles and responsibilities of the group members effectively and appropriately. So as we start to assign, we need to make sure that we're assigning things based on task and relationship. And I like this because if you look at this and you look at the overall task and relationship, you can see that group members are going to fall into these categories. So if you want an effective team, you're going to have people and group members that fall into the initiating part of the task. Some are going to be info seekers. Some are going to be info sharers. But the point is each member is going to fall into one of these tasks, and you're going to want to have a good balanced member group. If you're lacking in any of these categories that you see under the task, then you need to start seeking outside of your product business group or outside of your group, seeking talent elsewhere to try to balance that out a little bit. And then when you're starting to identify strengths of group members, everyone should fall, all the members should fall into these three categories is what we're kind of suggesting. That is, you have groups of people that are harmonizing, that are always going to try to keep a harmonious environment within the group. You're going to have your encouragers as far as part of the group members, and then you're also going to have your gatekeepers. So look for those and make sure that you're establishing a well-balanced group. Now let's take a look at the group norms. These are the informal rules that the group adopts to regulate and standardize group behaviors. Norms are developed by group members and the managers, and they evaluate the group dynamics via the methodology. There's 6 different methodologies that we want to use when we're evaluating group norms. The first is we want to scan the environment for opportunities to change the operational strategy or improve performance. We need to identify a few behaviors that members must always do to conform. We need to facilitate group survival, so emphasize to the group what the shared context is. Simplify and make group behaviors more predictable. Make sure we're setting expectations that are clear, and help avoid embarrassing interpersonal problems within the group. Teach your groups how to manage interpersonal conflict. And last, express central values of the group's identity. So again, if we're in a product business group, maybe there's a particular product that all of us are supporting. So then emphasize that, hey, we're all trying to get product A shipped out the door with no defects and on time with no safety issues. And so we can all rally behind that common goal, even though you do engineering work, you're working with suppliers, and you do procurement. The point is we want to express the central values of the group's identity. So let's talk about group cohesion. So we need a strong underlying cohesion of behavioral norms, but we have to be careful that we avoid groupthink. I've seen this happen many times, and I'm sure you have too, where the leaders emerge in the norming stage, and then all of a sudden groupthink sets in because the followers are blindly following the group leaders, and we do not want that. So one of the things you can do is invite people from other product business groups just to get a new set of eyes on some of your departmental policies and see if it can't re-energize or re-emerge this culture of continuous improvement that we're always talking about. The 6th item is communication mode. And this is critical to determine the most effective mode for group members. And the key takeaway here for the communication mode is we just want to simplify communication. So simplify, simplify, simplify. We want to avoid miscommunication at all costs. I hope you enjoyed this video.